You are 3 days into a grid-down survival scenario. Your food supplies are gone, and hunger is gnawing at your stomach. You walk into a meadow and spot a familiar cluster of white flowers. You dig into the soil and pull up a white, fleshy taproot that smells exactly like a carrot. It looks safe. You take a bite. 15 minutes later, you start sweating profusely. 30 minutes later, violent tremors take over your body. Within 2 hours, your central nervous system completely collapses and you are dead. You didn't just eat a wild carrot, you ate water hemlock, the most violently toxic plant in North America. In a survival situation, the forest is not your friend, it is a minefield. Nature is a master of disguise, and the most lethal poisons on Earth are perfectly camouflaged to look exactly like your next meal. Today, we are exposing the ultimate survival traps. We are going to look at the deadliest look-alike plants that will end your life if you make a single foraging mistake. B number 3, the death camas. Imagine you're foraging in a high mountain meadow or a sprawling valley, and you find what looks exactly like a patch of wild onions or wild garlic. The green, grass-like leaves are identical. The bulbs buried in the dirt look like perfect edible calories. Native Americans and early pioneers relied heavily on edible blue camas bulbs to survive brutal winters, but growing directly beside them, often in the exact same soil, is the toxicoscordion, the death camas. The terrifying part is that before they bloom, the edible camas and the death camas are practically indistinguishable by sight alone. But if you make the mistake of boiling and eating the death camas bulb, you are consuming zigazine, a devastatingly powerful neurotoxin. Within an hour, your mouth will start burning. This is quickly followed by violent vomiting, loss of muscle control, and a terrifying drop in your heart rate. Your blood pressure plummets until your heart simply stops beating. The only warning sign nature gives you is the smell. Edible wild onions smell strongly of onion or garlic. Death camas do not. In survival, your nose is your only defense against this lethal imposter. Number 4, Canada Moonseed. Finding a vine full of wild grapes in the forest feels like hitting the survival jackpot. They are packed with vital sugars, water, and energy. But twisting and climbing right alongside safe, edible wild grapevines is a deadly assassin. The Canada Moonseed plant produces dark purple, juicy berries that hang in clusters, mimicking wild grapes almost perfectly. But these are not grapes, they are poison. The moonseed berries contain a highly toxic alkaloid called dauracine. If a starving survivor or a curious child eats a handful of these berries, the dauracine rapidly attacks the nervous system. It causes severe, paralyzing gastrointestinal pain, convulsions, and ultimately respiratory failure. You literally suffocate as your body's muscles freeze. How do you tell the difference before it's too late? Wild grapevines have curly tendrils that wrap around branches to climb, and their seeds are round. Moonseed vines have no curly tendrils, and if you crush the berry, the single seed inside is shaped perfectly like a crescent moon. It is a beautiful hidden warning of the darkness inside. We are halfway through the deadliest foraging traps in nature. If you are realizing just how dangerous the wild can be without the right knowledge, hit the subscribe button right now. We are dedicated to sharing the unfiltered survival truths that could save your life when the grid goes down. Don't wait until you are starving in the woods to learn this. Now, let's look at a poisonous trap that disguises itself as one of the most popular wild berries on Earth. Number 5, Pokeweed and the deadly Nightshade. Berries are the ultimate survival temptation because they require no cooking or preparation. When you see clusters of deep purple or black berries, your brain immediately thinks of blueberries or blackberries. The Pokeweed plant produces bright, beautiful clusters of dark purple berries on neon pink stems. While birds eat them freely, for humans, the entire plant, especially the roots and raw mature berries, is laced with saponines and oxalates. Eating a handful will cause massive hemorrhaging in your stomach, violent spasms, and a severe drop in blood pressure. Even more terrifying is the belladonna, or deadly nightshade. It produces shiny, sweet-tasting black berries that look like small cherries or wild blueberries. Belladonna contains atropine and scopolamine. Eating just 2 to 5 of these sweet berries will cause your pupils to dilate massively, followed by severe hallucinations, a racing heartbeat, and delirium. The pioneers used to say belladonna makes you hot as a hare, blind as a bat, dry as a bone, red as a beet, and mad as a hatter. Eventually, it puts you into a deep coma from which you never wake up. It is the ultimate poisoned apple of the forest. Before we uncover the next fatal lookalike, if you want to learn how to truly survive off-grid and protect your family from nature's hidden traps, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell right now. A single piece of knowledge from this channel could literally save your life. Now, let's look at the terrifying truth behind the wild carrot. Number 1. Water Hemlock and Poison Hemlock. If you are foraging for wild carrots, parsnips, or Queen Anne's lace, you are playing Russian roulette with nature. Water Hemlock, scientifically known as cicuta, grows in the exact same moist environments as edible wild roots. To the untrained eye, the roots, the leaves, and the umbrella-like white flower clusters are nearly identical to safe edibles. Even the smell can mimic a parsnip, but locked inside the chambers of its root is a thick, yellowish sap containing ticutoxin. This is not a poison that makes you slowly sick. It is a biological sledgehammer to your central nervous system. If you consume even a small fragment of this root, the cicutoxin immediately disrupts the central nervous system, causing terrifying, bone-breaking grand mal seizures, vomiting, and ultimately death through respiratory failure or cardiac arrest, often within just a couple of hours. The only true way to tell them apart is the stem. Poison hemlock often has purple splotches, warning you of the violent death inside. If you are not a master botanist, never, ever pull a carrot from the wild. Number 2. The death cap mushroom. Amanita phalloides. Foraging for mushrooms is one of the most popular survival skills, but it is also the most unforgiving. The death cap is responsible for the majority of fatal mushroom poisonings worldwide. Why? Because it doesn't look like a cartoonish, bright red poisonous toadstool. It looks exactly like the edible button mushrooms you buy at the grocery store, or the popular wild patty straw mushroom. It smells pleasant, and according to survivors, it actually tastes delicious. But the terror of the death cap is in its delay. It contains amatoxins, a group of chemicals that withstand boiling, freezing, and cooking. After you eat it, you will experience severe abdominal cramping and cholera-like diarrhea for a day. But then a terrifying honeymoon phase begins. The symptoms vanish. You feel completely fine. You think you survived food poisoning. But in reality, the amatoxins are silently and systematically melting your liver and kidney cells. 2 to 3 days later, the organs completely fail. And without a total liver transplant, death is absolute. It is the silent assassin of the forest. Aqui está a parte 3, o clímax e final do nosso roteiro. If you eat this wild carrot, you have 2 hours left. Nesta última etapa, vamos falar sobre o falso cogumelo que produz combustível de foguete no seu estômago e a linda flor de jardim que paralisa o coração de quem acha que encontrou alho selvagem. Copie este bloco final e junte com as partes 1 e 2 no seu gerador de voz. Roteiro: If you eat this wild carrot, you have 2 hours left. Parte 3, o clímax e final. Number 6, the false morel. Every spring, foragers and survivalists head into the woods hunting for the highly prized, deeply savory morel mushroom. True morels look like a beautiful hollow honeycomb on a stem, but growing in the exact same forest is a terrifying imposter known as the false morel, or Gyromitra. Instead of a pitted honeycomb, its cap looks wrinkled, folded, and alarmingly like a human brain, but the real nightmare is its chemistry. The false morel contains a highly volatile toxin called gyrometrin. When gyrometrin enters your stomach acid, a horrifying chemical reaction takes place. Your body breaks it down into monomethylhydrazine. If that chemical sounds familiar, it is because it is a primary, highly toxic component of aerospace rocket fuel. If you consume this mushroom raw or improperly cooked, you are literally ingesting rocket fuel. The symptoms are brutal: severe vertigo, profound vomiting, and a complete breakdown of your red blood cells. It destroys your liver, shuts down your kidneys, and attacks your nervous system until you fall into a coma. True morels are completely hollow inside. False morels are filled with cotton-like fibers. In the wild, checking the inside of a mushroom is the difference between a gourmet meal and a lethal dose of hydrazine. Number 7, Lily of the Valley. This plant is famous worldwide for its beautiful, delicate, bell-shaped white flowers and incredibly sweet fragrance. It is a staple in millions of gardens and wedding bouquets. But in the early spring, before those beautiful flowers bloom, its broad green leaves shoot up from the soil looking exactly like wild ramps, wild leeks, or wild garlic. This visual deception has killed numerous foragers and survivalists looking for a quick meal. The entire plant, from the roots to the leaves to the red berries it produces later, is packed with over 30 different cardiac glycosides, primarily convalitoxin. These are some of the most potent, heart-stopping chemicals found in nature. If you mistake lily of the valley leaves for wild garlic and put them in a soup or a salad, the convalitoxin immediately begins to interfere with your heart's electrical system. Your pulse becomes violent and erratic. You experience severe blurred vision, seeing halos around objects. Within hours, your heart rate plummets to a dangerously slow rhythm, leading to complete cardiac arrest. Nature's defense mechanism is brutal. The only way to survive this trap is by using your sense of smell. Wild ramps and wild garlic will always smell strongly of onion. Lily of the Valley leaves have no onion scent whatsoever. Nature is beautiful, but it is not forgiving. In a true survival scenario, you do not have the luxury of making a mistake. There are no hospitals, no poison control centers, and no second chances. The plants and mushrooms we've covered today rely on deception to protect themselves, and they will not hesitate to end your life if you cross their path blindly. Never eat a wild plant or mushroom unless you can identify it with absolutely 100% certainty. Surviving the wild is about knowledge, not luck. If this video opened your eyes to the hidden, lethal traps waiting in the forest, you must hit the like button and share this with anyone who spends time outdoors. It is the only way we can beat the algorithm and spread this life-saving information. Go down to the comments and tell me, have you ever found one of these deadly lookalikes while hiking or foraging? Let me know your story. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell to join our community of true survivalists. Respect nature, arm yourself with knowledge, and I will see you in the next video.